So good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to this information session for the Music Network and Ionad Cultúrtha Musician in Residence Programme 2025. My name is Sarah Ledwidge and I work with Music Network, and my colleague Melanie Wright is also here today. And just to let you know, we are recording the presentation part of this webinar and it will be publicly available to view afterwards on our channels. So just an overview of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give an introduction to the residency programme, talk through the application and selection process, and give you some information about Ionad Cultúrtha. Most of what I say today is in the award guidelines, and Mel is going to put a link to the guidelines into the chat box just now. If anyone hasn't already had a look at the guidelines, downloaded them, etc., please do so. There's a huge amount of information in there. And I'm going to then give an overview of the 2024 residency, and then we'll go to our Q&A session, at which point we will switch off the recording and take your questions. You'll see below there's a chat box and a Q&A box. You can use the chat to say hello if you wish, and also to contact myself or Mel if you're having any technical problems or need any help with anything. But please use the Q&A box to put your questions into. You can select to enter your question anonymously if you wish to do so, and you can put them in there at any point, but I will come to them at the end of the presentation. If at that point you would prefer to speak your question rather than type it, that's fine too. When we get to the Q&A session, just use the raise hand function and we can unmute you if you prefer to speak. So if you do type a question by mistake into the chat box, that's no problem. Just move it over to the Q&A to make sure that we see it. So this residency programme is presented by Music Network in partnership with Ionad Cultúrtha, and is supported by the Arts Council, Ionad Gaeltacht, and Cork Education and Training Board. It's an opportunity for a musician to develop and showcase new work, and or a chance to develop and showcase a new artistic collaboration. It's a chance to engage with the Irish language or the Gaeltacht in a creative way. And it's an opportunity designed specifically for a professional musician who is autistic. On that last point, a formal diagnosis of autism is not required. The invitation is open to all professional musicians who self-identify as autistic or who have a diagnosis of autism. So the application process. Not the application process, sorry, wrong slide for me. A little bit more on the award itself. So the bursary is for €8,000. The residency will take place during October and November 2025, during which time the musician will visit Baile 4 times, and perhaps once more for the final concert, depending when that's scheduled for. Bed and breakfast accommodation will be provided for the musician in residence on each visit, and for collaborators on the final concert date. All other expenses and musician fees come from the bursary, and it's essential to remember that all members of the creative team should be paid fairly. The musician will receive access to the main theatre space for up to 12 days, and there will be one concert to present the new work or collaboration in November or December to be agreed. And there will also be a programme of outreach activities where the musician can work alongside an experienced facilitator to deliver a programme of workshops for the local autistic community. All activities associated with the workshop programme will be discussed and agreed with the musician in advance to make sure that they are comfortable. The application process. So how you can apply? You can apply either via email or using our online application form. Either way, you will receive email acknowledgement that your application was received. Please note late applications cannot be accepted. Shortlisted candidates will be invited to an in-person interview at Ionad Cultúrtha, Baile on the 9th of September. And inquiries should come to me, Sarah Ledwidge, at programsadmin@musicnetwork.ie, or you can telephone 083 016 2718. And just to note, the closing date for applications is Monday, the 1st of September, 2025 at 2 p.m. So if you choose to apply using the online form, you should visit musicnetwork.ie to access the residency page. There you can click on Apply Now and you can register and set up a profile on the application portal. From there, you can complete your application in stages. You can save drafts and go back to it before submitting. And you upload your support materials directly to the form. I'm going to talk in a minute about the support materials for the application. And you will receive a confirmation email once your application has been successfully submitted. If you don't receive that email, please contact me ahead of the closing date, because chances are your application wasn't received if you did not receive that email acknowledgement. And again, the closing date is Monday, the 1st of September at 2 p.m. If you prefer to apply via email, please email me at programsadmin@musicnetwork.ie, and you will attach the 3 support materials directly to your email. So the 3 support materials are your CV, a description of how you would like to use the 2 months of residency support, and up to 2 audio or video samples of your work. And you can either attach them as the audio video files themselves or as links to where they are housed online. Those 3 support materials you will submit whether you apply using the online form or via email. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on each of those 3 support materials now. Closing date, Monday, the 1st of September, 2 p.m. So the first support material, the CV, and if you're applying via the online form, you have the option to upload it as a PDF or a Word document. So your CV should be a maximum of 3 pages. It should contain your name and contact details. That is your phone number, email address, and postal address. It should contain your educational qualifications and your full professional experience as a musician. For example, performances, recordings, residencies. And a tip here is to include which instruments you play on your CV and make sure that your most recent and most important and relevant events are listed prominently. You can also include any other experience you deem relevant for the panel to know, but keep in mind the selection criteria, which we're going to look at shortly. Please also include the details of 2 referees who we have permission to contact. So just to sum up, make sure that what you include on your CV is relevant to this opportunity and supports your application. Support material number 2 is your description of how you would like to use the 2 months of residency support. If you're using the online form, you can upload as a PDF or a Word doc. You also have the option to submit an audio spoken file if you prefer to speak this rather than write it down, and you can upload that to the online form as an MP3 file. So this should be a maximum of 1,000 words or the audio file spoken equivalent. It should explain how the residency will fit into your personal ambitions and goals, how you will engage creatively with the Irish language and or the Gaeltacht. It should take into consideration that you will visit Ballyvourney 4 times and spend up to 12 days developing your creative practice. So tips here are to provide a clear and detailed description of the work and make sure your plans are realistic within the time frame and the available budget. And keep in mind the selection criteria. Support material number 3 is up to 2 audio or video samples of your work. If using the online form, you can upload these as MP3, MP4, MOV files, or you can upload a PDF or a Word document which contains links to where the files are housed online. If you are sending links, please ensure that links provided are publicly accessible. So links to Google Drive or to subscription streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. will not be accessible by the panel. So make sure links are publicly accessible, no Google Drive, no subscription services. While professional standard recordings are not essential, recording should reflect the artistic quality of your work. So I'm moving on now to the assessment criteria. These are the criteria that the assessment panel will use to assess the applications. There are 4 assessment criteria. So number 1, and the most heavily weighted, is the artistic quality of your work and your track record in music performance. And that is weighted 45 marks out of 100. Number 2 is the quality of your idea, which is weighted 30 out of 100. This includes your artistic plans, details on any collaborating musicians or composers, if relevant, your ideas on engaging with the Irish language and or the Gaeltacht in a creative way, and your ideas on the content of the final performance. The third criteria is the feasibility of your idea, which is worth 15 marks. So this includes your approach to developing your creative practice, creating new work, collaborating with other musicians, and presenting a final performance. Your plans may be ambitious, but must also be realistic within the available time frame and resources. And again, bear in mind that all musicians involved in the performance should be paid appropriately for their work, and those fees must be paid from the bursary. So that would come under the feasibility of your idea. And lastly, your previous experience of managing similar projects has a 10-mark rating. And for example, this might include previous experience of managing your own musical projects or putting on concerts. Okay, I'm going to do a virtual tour of Ionad Cultúrtha. Please don't get too excited. It's not as technically impressive as it sounds. On the left there is the outside of Ionad Cultúrtha. It's worth bearing in mind that Ionad Cultúrtha shares its grounds with a primary school, so there may occasionally be some background noise or activity during school hours. On the right there is the main performance stage of Ionad Cultúrtha. At the equipment list, there is the Sean O'Riordan grand piano, some technical equipment, sound, visual and projector. If requested, a sound engineer and basic PA can be provided for the concert. The stage area is 6.5 meters wide by 4.5 meters deep, and the theatre seats may be retracted if more space is required. There are additional smaller spaces and rooms that can be made available to the artist if needed, but the main theatre space here is the main space for the residency. Now I'm going to give a brief overview of our pilot residency for an autistic musician in 2024. So this was delivered in partnership with St John's Theatre and Arts Centre in Listowel, County Kerry, and the appointed musician in residence was Patrick Stefan Groenland. Patrick used local birdsong and collaborated with the local poet, and also used the poetry of John B. Keane, who is another local poet, and he produced a body of 10 new songs during the residency. He also took part in some outreach workshops with autistic students at Nano Nagle School in Listowel, which were led by the music therapist and musician Tommy Hayes. What Patrick said: "I hope this residency can be seen as a success for future rollouts in other venues, as I feel it has really helped me. Being seen as a resident artist with autism was actually empowering, as usually that is considered or implied as a disadvantage or disability." I'm going to just play you a little clip of Patrick's final performance. So what I'm going to play you is a little excerpt from his first song, which used the poetry of local living poet Barbara Derbyshire, and you can hear him sampling some of the recordings he made of local birdsong.
It's fearless in the light. I wanna protect you and whisper you're not alone. You're not alone.
just to mention, Patrick is going to be giving a concert as part of National Heritage Week at Ionad Cultúrtha on Friday, the 22nd of August at 8 p.m. And the tickets are €15 and €10. He's being joined by a fiddle player, Jane Pomplus, and by percussionist Jason McNamara, who you saw in that clip. And the concert is going to feature music composed by Patrick Stefan during his 2024 residency, and also a world premiere of his new Music Network commission, which is an Irish language song inspired by Baile and its rich cultural heritage. So if anyone is local enough and available, you might want to go along. It would be a chance to see the venue and to gain some inspiration from the local area. Mel can pop a link to that event into the chat in case anyone's interested to attend. Well, just a reminder again that the closing date for applications is Monday, the 1st of September at 2 p.m. Inquiries can come to me, Sarah, Programs Admin at musicnetwork.ie, 083 016 2718. So thank you very much for attending today, and I hope you feel inspired to go and write your applications.